Ibu dan Bapak sekalian, perlu kami sampaikan bahwa kegiatan ini melibatkan peserta dari berbagai negara. Selain dari Indonesia, kita juga memiliki peserta dari Malaysia, Filipina, dan Thailand. Ini kami lakukan untuk mempererat kerjasama Prodi PGSD UHAMKA dengan berbagai pihak yang terkait. Para mahasiswa di PGSD UHAMKA juga memiliki banyak kesempatan untuk melakukan kegiatan magang di berbagai negara, bisa melalui kegiatan Sea Teachers yang sudah berjalan selama beberapa tahun, juga masih ada kegiatan-kegiatan yang lain. Kami juga memfasilitasi para mahasiswa bila menginginkan melakukan kegiatan magang mengajar di berbagai sekolah di seluruh Indonesia. Semua ini kami lakukan untuk membuat para lulusan kami memiliki pengalaman yang luar biasa dan nantinya akan siap untuk terjun ke masyarakat menjadi dosen yang profesional dan handal. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the international webinar presented by Primary Education Teaching Department, Muhammadiyah University, Professor Dr. Hamka. The theme of this webinar is Empowering Primary Education Teaching Strategies in Digital Era. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to greet our keynote speaker, the Excellency, Director of UHAMKA, Professor Dr. Gunawan Suryoputro. The Honorable all guest speakers on international webinar, Mr. Dr. Abdul Hamid Bustamil Nur from Malaysia, Mr. Remak Basagri, Master of Art from the Philippines, Mr. Dr. Desvian Bandarsyah, Master of Education from Indonesia. The distinguished guests, audience, and participant of international webinar. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. All praise be to Allah, Lord of the world, who has given us guidance, happiness, and healthy, so we can attend this international webinar without any obstacle. Before starting this event, let's open it by saying Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. The next agenda is reciting the Holy Quran that will be recited by Mr. Irfan Maulana. To Mr. Irfan, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي إن شاء جعل لك خيرا من ذلك جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ويجعل لك قصورا بل كذبوا بالساعة وأعتدنا لمن كذب بالساعة سعيرا بل كانوا بالساعة وأعتدنا لمن كذب بالساعة سعيرا بل كذبوا بالساعة وأعتدنا لمن كذب بالساعة سعيرا صدق الله العلي العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Irfan. May Allah bless us. Amin. Singing National Anthem, Indonesia Raya and Muhammadiyah Mars. The participants are expected to listen attentively.
Jangan
next agenda is reporting remark from the head of Primary Teacher Education Program that will be delivered by Miss Ikayatri, Mrs. Ikayatri, Master of Education. To Miss Ikayatri, time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Nova. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Rabbi israh li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani Profesor Dr. Gunawan Suryo Putro, Vice Rector of Muhammadiyah University, Profesor Dr. Hamka, the Honorable Dean of Teacher Training and Elementary School Teacher Education, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Muhammadiyah University, Profesor Dr. Hamka, Mr. Raymak J. Basarge, Master of Art from College of Development. Of the Uhamka Elementary School Teacher Education Department report the activity on this international webinar, which carries the theme then from 4 countries, Indonesia, Filipina, Malaysia, and Thailand. Thank you for all. And hopeful this webinar can provide new knowledge about how to empower primary education teaching strategies in digital era. Ladies and gentlemen, attendees of the webinar, let's start our webinar time saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim together. Thank you and enjoy the webinar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Gayatri. The next performance is from Professor Gunawan Suryo Putro as the keynote speaker of this international webinar. To Mr. Gunawan Suryo Putro, time is yours.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good, ladies and gentlemen. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajma'in. Ba'du. First of all, I would like to to welcome our invited speakers today, Dr. Abdul Hamid Bustami Nur from School of Education, Modern Language, University Utara Malaysia. Invited speakers, Ray Mark G. Basri MA from College of Development Education, Central Baik State University of Agriculture, Philippines. And also invited speaker, Dr. Deswian Pandarsa, the Faculty of Teachers Training and Education, UHAMKA University, the head of department, and also the committee, as well as the participant of this international webinar with the theme of empowering primary education teaching strategies in digital way. I believe that this seminar along with the theme is timely in the current issues that is needed to discuss in our webinar today. As we all know that in teaching in this era is very challenging for all of us, as particularly for the educators, teachers, lecturers, and practitioners. Why it is so challenging, since we have to make and anticipate how our students are able to join our subject through the digital era. We also know that based on the survey conducted by the Children's World Organization indicated that student or children at the age of 8 and 19 are very actively make an interaction directly through social media, through games and other media like YouTube and others. And we also know that all these children or students at the age of 8, 19 are very productive and critical. And they are very active through this media. They are very interactive with the media compared to the previous generation, so-called the X generation. Therefore, to facilitate our students at this age and to make our students easy to understand the material that the teachers deliver through the media, deliver through the teaching and learning, teachers and educators are not challenged to design their material, their courses, in order to make our students very active and can develop in order to develop their brains. Therefore, in my opinion, there are three things that the teachers have to consider in relation to the empowering education teaching strategies in digital era. The first is how to design curriculum. Designing curriculum is part and parcels of the important thing in teaching and learning. Normally, particularly in Indonesia, reviewing and changing the curriculum conducted between 5 to 10 years. However, if we conduct this review within 5 to 10, we believe that our curriculum will be out of date due to the advanced technology and the issues growing every day, minutes by minutes. Therefore, teachers is challenged to design the curriculum which is adaptable according to the current issues and according to the development that we have now, in order to make our student critical, analytic, creative, and innovative. And the second point which challenges the teachers and the educators is how to design teaching methodology. As we know that our students now are very familiar with the high technology, particularly the social media, then it will make our teachers and students have to be creative. How package the material through this media? Through this media, we hope that the teachers can trigger the student to have what we call as high order thinking skill. We know that high order thinking skill is the skills is needed, very needed today in order to make our student creative and innovative. And the last but not least is the assessment or the testing. How can the students in this era design the assessment through digital media? There's also one skill that the teachers have to master. So that's why, with the principle of the assessment, which cover the validity, reliability, and practicality, the teachers, through the assessment in digital modes or in digital media, will be able to know comprehensively the skill that the teachers have already mastered through the teaching and learning. Therefore, I would like to say that this seminar is very timely and it's very essential for us. And I believe that all the invited speakers will contribute, will provide us some current data and issues and facts in order to broaden our knowledge and in order to anticipate our teaching and learning. Again, welcome to all of you, and I hope that this international webinar will yield a significant contribution to all of us. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gunawan Suryaputra. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the opening ceremony of International Webinar Empowering Primary Education Teaching Strategies in Digital Era. We do hope that all agenda will run successfully. Now we come to the main agenda, the plenary session. The moderator of this event is Mr. Silihwarni, PhD. Mr. Silihwarni, PhD was born in Yogyakarta and graduated from Sheffield University, United Kingdom. To Mr. Silihwarni, I leave this event to you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Ms. Nova. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalam.
Excuse me, sorry, Pak Silih. May I leave? I have another event. Thank you to all of you.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. Gunawan. Good luck for all your agenda today. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. All praises go to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Honorable Professor Dr. Gunawan Suryaputra, who has just left this video conference or another agenda. Honorable all the speakers, all the participants, teachers, students, ladies and gentlemen, I hope everything is all right with you all today, and everyone is ready to get new insights from all the speakers, from all the outstanding speakers that we are having today. This seminar is organized by primary school education teachers of UHAMKA, University of Muhammadiyah Professor Dr. Hamka. This is one of the department which is really concerned with the development of primary education in Indonesia particularly, and has been preparing all the graduates to be globally competitive. So they hold such event for us to keep developing our insight. Before we go to the speech by the presenters, please allow me to read and greet the profile of the speakers. The first speakers is, we are having here Mr. Raymark G. Basagre, Master of Art. He is now the Physics and Physical Science instructor at Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, San Jose, Philippines. May I greet Mr. Raymark? Are you online already?
Yes, hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, hope things are well with you. Thank you. So we've got Mr. Raymark already. And then Mr. Raymark, as I mentioned before, is the Physics and Physical Science instructor. He is now undergoing his Doctor of Philosophy in Education Foundation in Bicol University. Then he's got his master degree, his Master of Arts in Physics Education in 2008 from Scholar Bicol University. And then he received his bachelor degree from Central Bicol State, majoring secondary education in physics science. Yeah, please welcome Mr. Raymark Basagre. Then the second presenter is Dr. Abdul Hamid Bustami Nur. Yeah, Dr. Abdul Hamid Bustami Nur. I think he is quite familiar for us, as we've been having partnership with University Utara Malaysia for some programs. May I greet Dr. Hamid? Are you there? Are you with us?
Yeah. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay.
Dr. Hamid.
Good morning for everyone.
Good morning. Thank you. Mr. Abdul Hamid is now the international senior lecturer at the School of Education, University Utara Malaysia. Yeah, thanks for keeping our partnership, Dr. Hamid. Hope it can keep going for other various programs.
Inshallah, you are welcome.
Thank you. And Dr. Abdul Hamid has got his PhD in education from International Islamic University Malaysia. Yeah, majoring instructional technology. It's very, relevant with what becomes our main topic today. And then he's got his master degree in 2005 from the same university, International Islamic University, majoring curriculum and instruction. And then he got his bachelor degree in 2002, majoring Sharia from University of Madinah, Saudi Arabia. Everyone, the last presenter we have is Dr. Desvian Bandarsyah from Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, University of Muhammadiyah, Professor Dr. Hamka. Good morning, Dr. Desvian Bandarsyah.
Good morning.
Okay.
Warning.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Dr. Desvian Bandarsyah is also here already with us. Dr. Desvian Bandarsyah is the Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education in University of Muhammadiyah, Professor Dr. Hamka. He's been very concerned as well with the integration of technology in teaching and learning process, and has been developing the facilities to facilitate learning in the faculty. Dr. Desvian Bandarsyah got his doctoral degree in social science education from Indonesian Education University, or we know as UPI, Bandung, in 2014. Then he got his master degree in education as well from Jakarta State University in 2001, and he received his bachelor degree from Institute of Teacher Training and Education of Muhammadiyah, Jakarta. All right, ladies and gentlemen, those are the profiles of our outstanding speakers today. All the topics here are dealing with the main theme that we are carrying today. Yeah. Which is empowering primary teaching strategies in digital era. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to our first presenter, Raymark J. Basagre, Master of Art from Central Bicol State University of Agriculture. Mr. Raymark, you've got at the most 45 minutes to present your materials. And we will follow it with the next presenter. And we will have the question and answer session after the three presenters presented their materials. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Raymark. Time is yours, please.
Thank you, Pak Sili. Thank you for the humble introduction. And of course, the respect to the rector of the university, the OHAMCA, and to everyone who is present in this gathering. I am audible, sir? Am I audible? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, clearly. We can hear you clearly.
Okay. Thank you so much. So allow me to present my screen. Pak Sili, can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see clearly.
Okay, thank you so much. So once again, good morning. For this topic, for this session, I would like to share something on the topic presented on the screen. This will lead us to a better understanding and better analysis on how we can empower primary education teaching strategy in the digital era. Again, I will be focusing on the redesigning of learning material for basic education, where the primary education is anchored in the light of COVID-19 and the role of technology. The COVID-19 basically give us a different setup. The COVID-19 give us a different setup on how we do things. But the adaptation that we did during the learning setup for this COVID-19 is actually applicable on how we can empower primary education teachers on how to adapt the situation on different circumstances, and of course make a relevant learning material on the context of the students where they are learning from home or from school and others. So allow me to present this following slide. The discussion flow for this topic will be on the learning delivery before and during the pandemic, because this learning delivery before and during the pandemic will give us a view, no, on how to better deliver the learning on the context that is most beneficial for the student. Because we know that during the pandemic, we focused on how to simplify our learning materials for the students will better understand the lesson, the context, and in the setup that they are in their respective homes. And also, the discussion will lean on the learning materials used in the pandemic, because these learning materials is also applicable uh, even without the pandemic or even after the pandemic. And of course, ways to redesign learning material, and of course, the role of technology in the learning. Okay, so before the pandemic, no, I have here on my screen, um, well, at least from 2019, 2018 to 2017, because 2019 here in our country is, of course, the breakout of the COVID-19 started during that year. And then we call those years backward as before the pandemic. The learning setup is normal. There's no adjustment being made. In other words, the learning setup is as usual. Okay, we see different students performing different activities inside the classroom. We see them engaging with each other. No, we see a usual setup that we see inside a classroom. But during the pandemic, by 2020, no, 2021, and until the present, no, because we still don't know where or when the pandemic will stop, no. We heard a lot of news that there are different variants of the COVID-19, and some of the developed vaccine is ineffective with the different variant that we heard. True or not, the COVID-19 pandemic is not yet over. To continue, with this COVID-19, there are different restrictions that we observe. The um, social distancing restriction, the travel, social distancing, the travel restriction, and gathering, which makes the life of people not to be in its usual way. Of course, in the classroom, we see the classroom that the chairs are flipped because the students are out of the classroom. We can say that the classroom during the pandemic is closed, and our houses or our home are open. Why? Because the students are studying in their respective homes together with their families or their siblings. They are doing the learning process in their respective house or respective homes, and the parents become the second teacher, no, utilizing the learning materials that we develop. The parents are now helping their child or the children pursue their academic endeavors. They become the more knowledgeable others for these students. So we can see that even though uh, before and after the pandemic, there is still common between the two, and that is actually the idea that the classes are still ongoing, that students should learn, whether asynchronous or synchronous. No, the student should learn because we do not close our educational system. So learning from school and learning from home is actually a different context, because learning from school, teachers are present, students are being seated while the teacher are facilitating the learning. But learning from home in the time of the pandemic is a different setup, where the students are with their family, sitting on their terrace or at their respective rooms, and no classmates being interacted with. So the learning is different. Now, with this difference in learning, there is a need to adjust, no, our learning material, because there is the difference of the context, there is the difference of the setting, there is the difference of how the learning must go through. With this, no, we need to redesign. We need to redesign the learning material. We need to redesign the learning material that we are giving to our respective students, no, because they are in their different setting, they're in their different homes without a teacher, only with their maybe their parents, or maybe their mother or father, right? So with this, we come to the idea that we need to redesign learning material for the basic education in the light of COVID-19. And this is applicable very much on our primary education setup, because in the primary education, no, the students there really need a scaffolding. They really need someone to help them, no. So aside from their parents, redesigning the learning material on the context of our primary education, no, making it easy on the context of these primary education students, making it easy for them to grasp the knowledge, no, gain the competency, is a necessary skill, no. Redesigning these, how to be a redesigner of learning material is a necessary skill that a teacher must develop. But the idea is how, no? Before the how, we need to understand first, what do we mean by the learning materials? According to Beth, learning materials are the terms referred to the spectrum of educational materials that are the teachers use in the classroom to support specific learning objectives. In other words, these are the different materials being used by us teachers for us to deliver the competency and the learning objectives that we targeted. But in the light of COVID-19, this learning material becomes the major material that we are giving to the students, because there's no teacher teaching. If there is, a minimal guidance from the teacher is being delivered being delivered by the teacher, because the face-to-face interaction is restricted, no. So in the time of the pandemic, no, learning materials being used are on learning modules, learning activities, performance tasks, learning videos, slide presentations with recording or none, and many others, no. But if we're going to take a look with this different learning materials, no, we can see that they have the commonalities. They have actually what we call similarities. All these learning materials, the learning modules, the learning activities, performance task, learning videos, slide presentation, name it, they are intended to support learning. They are all intended to support learning. They are also there. They must have objectives, targeted competency, or targeted outcomes. Just like in our learning modules, it has its targeted objectives, targeted competency, and targeted outcomes. The same with learning materials, no, performance tasks. Of course, in learning videos that we develop, we have the objectives, we have the targeted competency or the targeted outcomes, as well as in the slide presentation that we are giving our respective students in our lesson proper, COVID-19 or not. Also, all of these has words. Some are written, some are spoken. In learning materials, in learning module, we have the written words. In learning activities, we have the written words. In the performance task that we allow our student to perform, we have the written words. In our learning videos, we have the spoken words. In the slide presentation, no, we both have the written words on our respective slide, and we accompanied it with spoken words. We deliver the lesson using such. No? Also, another commonality between all of this learning material is the sequence or the presentation. All of these must have a logical sequence. All of these must have a proper way of presentation, not just plugging in everything that we want to say without thinking of how to proper deliver our lesson, the content of the learning module. No, that is not the proper way to do that. We must have a logical sequence, a proper presentation on how to deliver the content of these respective learning materials. No, aside from that, all of this has what we call the visual appearance. Learning modules must visually appeal. Learning activities, of course, must visually appeal. Performance tasks, as well as the videos, the learning videos that we allow our students to see. And of course, the slide presentations that we are using, no, in the pandemic or non-pandemic setup. And lastly, which we can see that they have the commonality, is that the element of being time-bound. The learning module must be time-bounded. The learning activities must be time-bounded. The performance task must be time-bounded. Of course, the learning videos must be time-bounded because the lesson must be time-bounded also. The slide presentation has its time limitation. It must be time-bounded. So with all these commonalities between the learning materials that we are using in our respective classrooms, from these commonalities, we can then get an input from where we can redesign our learning materials in the light of the COVID-19 pandemic learning setup and maybe applicable after the pandemic, specifically in the primary education. Here, according to Betham, we are given a framework on how to, what are the consideration in our redesigning of our learning materials, pandemic or not. First, we must consider the learning environment of our primary education students. If they are in their respective homes, the learning environment is of course different when they are in the respective classrooms. So in other words, there must be a redesigning of the learning material used because the learning environment is different. Of course, the learning outcome here, we try to craft and focus on the more important learning outcomes in the time of the pandemic, no? And as well as after the pandemic, maybe we can focus on the most essential outcomes in crafting our learning materials and our learning videos, learning slide presentation, and others. And of course, we need to take a look on who our learners is. No? In the case of this primary education, this is more critical. Why? Because since this is primary learners, we need to know their skills, their knowledge, their abilities, no, so that we can craft properly our learning materials, no, and create appropriate methodologies on how to better deliver the learning for our respective students. And others involves who are they interacting with, and other things that we need to consider here. So the question is how to redesign our learning material. How can we do that? How will we do that rather? Of course, here, one idea on how to do that is to focus or target the competency, objective, and outcome. We need to focus on targeting the competency, objectives, and outcome. Of course, we do that in our respective classrooms every day. But what is the difference? Okay, when we say focus on targeting the most essential or the most targeting the competency, objectives of outcome, we focus and choose the essential skills and competency that the students need, no? Specifically on the time of the pandemic, no? And of course, we need to avoid swerving. What do we mean by swerving? We need to avoid going from one concept to another concept without clarifying the concept that being presented, because that will lead the student into into a thinking that they don't understand actually what they are reading or what they are studying. So in a traffic rules, this is a violation in the Philippines. When we talk about swerving, it is going from one lane to another lane in our national highway immediately. So of course, this is applicable on learning, because if we proceed to one concept, then to another concept, then to another concept, without the student properly understanding the competency or the lesson that being presented, they might be having question on what really the competency that we need to target, what really the outcome that this learning material is wanted us to develop. So we need to focus on targeting the competency by choosing the most essential and avoid swerving. Next is we need to follow a logical sequence in the presentation of information. No? Robert Gagne gave us a one way to logically, sequentially present our information in our learning modules, in our video presentation, in our slide presentation, in our performance tasks, in all the learning materials that we'll be using. The 9 events of instruction of Robert Gagne give us a good format on how we can logically sequence our information by first getting the attention of the students. And then after getting the attention of the students in our learning video or our learning module, we can then inform them by our learning objectives. And then after informing them of our learning objectives, we can now stimulate the recall of the prior knowledge. We can now get what they know about the concept that we want to present in our learning materials. And then we can now present the information that we need to tackle for our specific lessons, for our specific time delivery. And then after presenting our lesson, presenting the information needed, we can now provide guidance. And then after providing guidance, providing scaffolding, we can now elicit performance, because eliciting performance will actually develop more, the competency that we want to target in this in the module in our learning material that we are presenting. And then after eliciting performance, we can now provide feedback. No, this is important. No, in providing feedback is important for our respective students in the primary grade. No, because this will scaffold further their understanding, their competencies learned from the information presented. And then we can now assess the performance and then enhance the retention by giving additional tasks that we can where they can transfer their knowledge from ideas into actual world. Now here, aside from that, we can also follow logical sequence by following again, the 5E instructional model. The 5E instructional model, or the 5E or 7Es, are widely used in science education. This is applicable also in the primary education. We need to engage the student, establish the relevance, help the learner determine needs of learning new concept, and then we can let them explore, present concepts, help the learner understand concepts, process, procedure, facts, and principles. And then we can now explain, improve understanding, help the learner to express new learning, and provide guidance. After explain, we can now elaborate, no, by constructing new knowledge, help the learner apply prior learning and acquire new. And then last but not the least is evaluate. Evaluate is the assessment of learning. So actually, this logical sequence, this instructional model is a good help on how we can frame our lessons, frame our learning modules, our learning videos, our PowerPoint presentation, and other learning materials used in instruction. So here we can see that this actually they are in common theme, no? The 9 events of instruction of Robert Gagne and the 5E instructional model is actually related with each other. Like each part is actually coinciding with other parts of the 9 events of instruction and 5 e-learning model respectively. And in an assessment, the module format we use in the university, in our university, is actually in accordance with this logical sequence of presenting information. So maybe we can use this in our presentation of information in our respective universities. And of course, another how to redesign our learning material is to write and discuss concept short but clear. No, what do you mean by that? We need to define unfamiliar terms. We need to define unfamiliar terms, no, because they may cause confusion to our respective students in the primary grades, in the primary education, in the basic education, if we put unfamiliar terms that we do not define it. So we need to define unfamiliar terms. We need to have a common understanding of what do we mean by these terms. Aside from that, we need to use common words and language. We need to use common words and language because utilizing common words and common language with our respective education student, with our respective primary education students, we can then lead them to proper and better understanding of concepts being presented in our respective learning materials. No, in general, no, we need to focus the discussion to the concept. No, short but clear. We need to focus the discussion to the concept that we want our students to learn. No, we avoid going from one concept to another concept and then to another concept because this will lead to confusion. This will lead to misunderstanding and confusion of our primary students. No, we need to organize the flow logically and understandably for our respective primary education students. No, aside from that, no, another way to redesign, no, one way to redesign our learning modules, learning videos, and other instructional material used in learning is to provide ample examples and practice opportunity to attain the competency. No, why? Because according to a statement, no, from Anonymous, what I hear, I forgot. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. This is very important, no? Because if we provide ample examples and practice opportunity, this is tantamount to saying that we allow our students to do things so that they will understand. Because according to this phrase, what they do, they understand. No? And going to the Edgar Dale's Kolb experience, no? We can see here that people generally remember here 90% of what they do. No? If we allow our student to do ample examples and practice opportunities, even they are in their respective homes, no, 90% of what they do, 90% of what they do, they will remember it. So again, what I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. Let us not just put everything into text without allowing our students to perform things. Because just reading, the students will just remember 10% of the concept that we present. But if we allow them to do and perform practice opportunity, they will remember 90% of what they perform. Okay, so aside from that, here, no, add related visuals and image that will enhance the content. This is so important, no? Add related visuals, image that will enhance the content. Why? Because it helps to store information longer. It helps to store information longer. Again, from Edgar Dale's Kolb experience, 30% of what they see, they will remember it. 50% of what they see and hear, they will remember it. So we need to add visuals and image in order for that 30% and 50% to be remembered by our primary students. Okay? And of course, we can see here an example of, for example, a module with visuals and images. No? It makes communication quicker and simpler. No? Because imagine if this is all text, no? It is very heavy to read for our respective primary students. No? It will aid better comprehension. It will act as stimulators of information, and eventually it will drive motivation. No? So we can see here, for example, no, I have three part of a module. This is letter A, B, and C. If we're going to choose, no, of course, we either choose A or B, but not C, no? Because if we're going to choose C, this is so heavy to read, this is so textful, and it is heavy for our part. In the same manner, for our respective primary students, they don't not like this. Letter C is a no. They don't like this. Why? Because they don't love reading everything. They want to see visuals. They want to see illustrations, because that is a better way to understand the text, the context, by adding visuals and presentation. So we need to add visuals and presentations. Here, number 7, we need to contextualize the discussion according to the common experience of the learners. Why? Because if in our modules, if in our learning videos, we add, for example, pantomima, no, for example, the context of pantomima, no, you use that in Indonesia, for example, the context of pantomima, you don't know that, because pantomima is actually innate or native or within the experiences of the Bicol region here in the Philippines. No, maybe you have different experiences, different activities, different rituals which you can incorporate to the lesson. Use that one as context, because incorporating that one will be a common experience, will lead to a better understanding of the lesson. No? So we need to contextualize the discussion according to the common experience of the learners. It makes the learning relevant, it engages and motivates hard to reach students, and then it's increased learner confidence and enthusiasm and enhance interest in long-term and education. Why? Because it appeal to the learner. They know it. No, it is contextualized. It must be contextualized. No, and of course, no, since in the COVID setup, the students are in their respective homes, sitting at their backyard or in their rooms with their family, with their parents, no? And even after the pandemic, no, we need to keep the time duration within the attention span of our students. No, because sometimes we talk so much in our respective subjects that seems to be we are talking all the time in our respective rooms. We do not allow the students to perform things. No, it is actually in violation of the attention span of the student. No, because according to some psychologists, the attention span of the student is from 10 to 15 minutes long. Yet most of our university classes or primary education classes is from 50 to 90 minutes. But in the context of the primary education, no, since this is young learners, they are young learners. We need to compress, no, we need to develop our module within the attention span of the students, no, so that we can cater the necessary concepts, the competency within the time frame that they want, that they are ready and capable of understanding with. Again, it is natural for the students' attention level to vary according to motivation, mood, perceived relevance of materials and factors. That's why we need to design our learning materials relevant and according to the attention span of our respective primary students. Here, what is the role of the technology? No? So, how does technology works in developing country? No? These are some important questions that we need to ponder. No? Here, technology, we can use different ways to deliver our lesson. No, like we, aside from giving the modules to our respective students, no, our respective modules to our respective students, no, we can meet them in a class using maybe Google Meet, no, or in a Zoom meeting, no, and other online platform, no, because the module is another way, is another thing, but meeting them and explaining the content of the module is another thing, no. So technology plays an important role, no, in furthering, in pushing forward the learning of our primary education students. And of course, we can see.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just a reminder that we still have 10 minutes to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I will not consume 10 minutes more. Okay, so here we can still use the WhatsApp, the SMS, or the Facebook Messenger. We can chat them. We can create a chat box so that we can interact with them, even within or without the pandemic. No, so the technology really is important thing. No, so because this act as a reinforcement. If we design the module and then we do these classes using this technology, this act as a reinforcement of the well-designed modules. Okay, and here we see that technology, faced with the pandemic, countries have combined high-tech and low-tech approaches to help teachers better support learners. No, we need a combination of the both. So we should use technology to complement the needs of the learner and not to add to their burden during the pandemic. No, we should use technology to complement the needs of the student, no, and not to add to the burden of our students in the time of the pandemic, as well as in a natural setup without the pandemic, because we might be asking so many things with our students, no, that for example we use different things and we use it as a rule, no, but we need to take a look that we are focusing on the learning per se. So therefore, we should use technology to complement the needs of the students to better learn and not to add to their burden in the time of the pandemic or not. Okay, so a well-designed learning materials plus an appropriate reinforcement technology will equate to the maximum learning of the students in the time of the pandemic or not. A well-designed learning materials plus appropriate reinforcement using the technology will maximize the learning of our students. To end, let me share you this quotation by Kate Berger. It is important to remember that educational software like textbook, no, or ebooks is only one tool to the learning process. Neither can substitute to a well-trained teachers, leaders, and parental involvement. If we train the teachers on how to craft learning materials, use reinforcement properly at the time of the pandemic or even after the pandemic, no, we can cater the best learning experience to our primary students. With this, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Remark, for your very insightful presentation. If I could highlight, then you have given very comprehensive elaboration on the context of learning before and during the pandemic era. I think it's pretty much the same as the situation in Indonesia and as well as in Malaysia, probably. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we could elaborate that further later in the question answer session. If you've got any questions or inquiries regarding Mr. Remark's presentation, you may start writing down them, and you may throw the questions to the chat box. We will discuss later after the three presenters. Thank you very much, Mr. Remark.
Thank you so much.
And the next presenter, yeah, we are going to move to the next presenter, Dr. Abdul Hamid, who will present the very relevant materials with regards to what we just heard from Mr. Remark. Dr. Abdul Hamid will present Empowering Teacher for Effective Digital Technology Integration in Teaching. So everyone, please welcome to Dr. Abdul Hamid for his presentation. Dr. Hamid, time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much for the time. So before I start, we like to cross-check again. Is it my voice clear?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, yeah. So do you see my slide?
We haven't seen your slide. Doctor.
Okay, all right. Okay, let me share the slide. Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes, now we can see your slide.
Okay, all right. So we want to start now, okay? Okay, all right. Thank you then. Okay, yeah. So, okay, that basically technology. So we should test first, okay? So to make everything running and smooth. Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning for all of you. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala, amma ba'd. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد. Brothers and sisters, this considered a beautiful day, and I'm very excited to share with you in this international webinar. Okay, but before that, first of all, we'd like to thank the organizer for this international webinar for inviting me to this event, so I can share my expertise, my knowledge related to these topics, empowering primary education teaching strategy in digital era. Yeah, this theme is very much related to my field and my expertise, because I'm specialized in instructional technology in the University Utara Malaysia, okay, where the technology basically is the main concern in my field of education. Okay, so I also not forgetting to thank Rector of UHAMKA, Professor Dr. Gunawan Suryo Putro, and all invited speakers, starting from the Dean of FKIP, of Faculty of Education and Training, UHAMKA, Dr. Desvian Pandarsa, and invited speaker from Philippines, Remax G. Basagri. I hope that I pronounce it correctly. And my colleagues, okay, moderator for this international webinar, Dr. Silihwani, and all my colleagues from University Muhammadiyah, Professor Hamka, and all participants of this event. Okay, brothers and sisters, okay, my presentations, like the moderator mentioned, is empowering teachers for effective digital technology integration in teaching. And this topic very much aligned with the theme of this webinar, but I'm very much focusing on teachers here. So I will explain why. Okay, yeah. So brothers and sisters, as introductions, as we know that one of the goals of education is to respond to the current challenges, am I right? And challenges will vary from time to time, and different era has its own challenges that education should bear and deal with it. So excellent educational institution is institution that able to respond to its challenges and turn it into potential opportunity to excel its quality. Okay. One of the challenges that we are facing today, which is pandemic COVID-19, which has forced educational institution to redesign, like what the first presenter highlighted. This pandemic forced educational institution and teachers, of course, to redesign in the teaching and learning process. And of course, the teachers are forced, okay, I will say here, forced to adapt to the, what we call it, new normal, which is very much depend on online learning, okay? Of course, this kind of redesigning, learning, curriculums, and what have you, is not easy task. Why? So teachers are struggling to adapt to this current online teaching because they are not trained. They are not trained to this setting because, our teachers are trained to deal with the class in offline environment. But suddenly, because of this pandemics, they forced to deal with the online learning and online teaching, which is they are not trained for that. Okay, although we have a portion of courses that prepare a teacher to deal with technology, but in general, teacher is not designed for that setting. Okay, but alhamdulillah, many of them are able to adapt along the way with the trial and error, and some teachers are forced to attend the various workshops on how to deal with online learning. Okay, so anyhow, learning should go on, regardless of its challenges. Okay, so brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, if we are talk about the empowering teaching strategy, whether it in primary school, levels or in the secondary school level, even in university levels. University, for instance, we cannot run away from focusing on teachers. So because teaching, teaching strategy and teaching, okay, the main word here, teaching, is very much domain of teachers. Teacher is the most important elements and component in teaching. So if you have all the equipment, if you have everything in school, sophisticated equipments, wonderful curriculums, advanced facilities, digital technology, what have you, if you don't have a teacher, nothing happens. Am I right? So that's why here I'm focusing on empowering teachers, and I'm focusing on teacher here. So brothers and sisters, since that we are focusing on teacher, we ponder to this beautiful hadith narrated by Muslims, okay, and Jabir radhiyallahu an, the Prophet said, Inna Allaha lam yab'athani mu'annitan wala muta'annitan walakin ba'athani mu'alliman muyassara, which is mean God didn't send me to be harsh or to cause harm, but rather he sent me to teach, as teacher, what are the most important thing to make things easy. Okay, that's why we need to empower teacher to make everything easy. Even in the time of pandemic, okay, difficult situations become easy if teacher are having all knowledge and skill for that. Okay, so this is very, very important. So I bring the hadith here because we are as Muslims, the Prophet become our rule. Okay, and on related to what month today. Okay, yeah. So that's why I bring hadith here. Okay, to reflect upon it and then to ponder upon it. Okay. So this is very important. Okay, and then I bring another a slide here to ponder. The Japanese proverb rightly state, better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great teacher. Okay, in other words, okay, if you spend 1,000 days of learning without teacher, it's almost useless compared with one day, just one day with great teacher. So again, teacher is very important role here. Okay, and then I bring another slide. Okay, yeah. Okay, just to appreciate the importance of teacher. Okay, here he said that by Williams, the mediocre teacher tell, the good teacher explain, the superior teacher demonstrate, and the great teacher inspire. We wish that we can produce teacher that inspire. So again here, teacher is the most important role. That's why in my presentations, I'm focusing on empowering teachers. Okay, yeah. So brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, since that, have 40-minute first presenter and then now, okay, I don't want to speak alone, present alone, I feel alone. So we want to have kind of interactivity, okay? So our focus is teacher, okay? Can we do kind of interactive kind of presentations, Dr. Silly?
Excuse me?
Okay, can I have kind of interactive presentations?
Yeah, all right.
Okay,
Even
okay,
though
all
we
right.
plan to have it at the end, but if
no problem.
No
It's
problem.
part of So to make all the participants alert of what I'm talking. Okay, yeah. So all the participants, please, if you don't mind, go to mintyminter.com. Okay, and then use this code, okay, to participate or to be with me, okay, today. Okay, yeah. because yeah, the interactivity is very important. Okay, yeah. So perhaps grab your phone, smartphone, and then Google's this Mentimentor.com, and then put this code. Okay, and then respond. Okay, yeah. I hope that all participants are with me. Okay, yeah. So we have question there. Okay, yeah. Okay, please respond.
Excuse me, Dr. Hamid, would you please share the screen of the code to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to fill the Mentimeter?
The code, is it right?
Yeah. If you don't mind, just keep the code on the screen so that, yes, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. So I got the response now. Okay, response start coming. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I hope that everyone take note of this. I want to share the answer. Okay, all right. So response coming. Okay, wow. We see teacher. Okay, all right. Okay, in other words, that majority of you are with me. Okay, all right. So some of them see freedom. Okay, learner, contributions. Okay, all right, it's good. Wow, teacher are dominated. Okay, all right, good. So in other words, that I'm not talking alone today. Okay, all right. Okay, I think majority of respondent are teacher. That's why he should see themselves. I'm teacher. Okay, okay, yeah. So teacher. So what is the most important element in teaching? Okay. So we have numbers here. Okay. Still we have 50 respondents. Okay. Creativity. Yeah. Patience. Strategy. Okay. All right. Interactions. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Creativity and interactions is we have followed the teacher. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So after I get the sufficient number, I will come back to my slide. Okay. So I'm waiting. Okay. Okay, very interesting. Teacher, creativity, strategy. Okay, instruction still there. Okay. Oh, teaching with heart. Wow, mashallah. Oh, great. Attitude. Okay, yeah. Honors. Okay, media. Okay, communications. Okay, all right. So 1 minute left. Okay. Wow. Okay, yeah. Must be patient teacher. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I agree with, okay, with this answer. Oh, heartfelt. So what we can say in Indonesia, Dr. Sili? The answer here, heartfelt. Ada hati.
Yeah, wholehearted.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, very interesting. Okay, yeah. Okay, teaching with heart, yes, but heartfelt. Okay, ada hati. Okay, okay. Very interesting. Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. I think stop here. Okay, yeah. So what we want to conclude here that all the participants, majority of participants agree with me that the teacher is the most important element in teaching. Okay, yeah. So thank you very much for all, participant who responded, okay, to this kind of interactivity. Just at least we know that you are still there. Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. So now I will go back to my slide. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So all of you are agree with me that the teacher is very important element. Okay. That's why if you talk about the empowering teaching strategy in digital era, mean empowering teacher. If we are able to empower teacher, for example, in the school, as example, School of Education and Training in UHAMKA are able to produce teacher, empowering them and become great teacher that can inspire, mean that it will excel the quality of education. And of course, UHAMKA become the first options for those who want to be a teacher. Okay, I hope that become reality. Okay, yeah. So empowering teacher. Okay, yeah. So of course, when we are talk about the empowering teacher, okay, empowering teaching, okay, yeah, because this the main topic of this, the main theme of this webinar, empowering teaching strategy require to empower teacher, because teacher, I mean, only teacher who can come up with the effective teaching strategy in their teaching. Okay, so if we are able to prepare them and train them to that task, our teacher are ready to face any kind of challenges. Okay, this pandemic is one of the challenges we didn't know. Okay, we have in the future we have other challenges that require teacher to ready for that. Okay, yeah. So when we talk about the digital, okay, yeah, teaching strategy and digital era, of course, the teaching strategy is not static, but rather dynamic and very much depend on various factors. Okay, as examples, okay, setting environments, okay, setting environments, content, curriculum, syllabus, objective, and so on, so forth. Okay, all these factors, okay, should be comprehended by teachers as prerequisite knowledge to analyze what is the best teaching strategy that suit to that context. Okay, yeah, because different contexts require different setting require different strategy. So we know that it's not, we know that one size is not fit all. Okay, yeah, so strategy will dynamics depending on the situation, depending on the context, and so on and so forth. But if you are able to prepare teacher for that, a teacher ready, okay, to face any challenges such now pandemic COVID-19. Okay, so we want to focus on 4 ingredients. We call it ingredient here for effective digital technology integration in teaching. Okay, because when we are talking about digital era, we cannot run away from technology. So teacher should able, okay, to infuse the technology, infuse digital technology into their teaching. Okay. So I just focus on the 4, and please, Dr. Sili, you remind me if the time is okay, offer, so I can, you know, shorten the presentation. Okay. The first is, okay, foundation of learning. Okay, that we call it the learning theories. I think all teachers, you know about this. Okay, and the second, technology pedagogical content knowledge, what we call it the TPAC. And then we have technology integration planning model. And then the last but not least, essential condition for integration. Okay, so we start with the first ingredient, why it is important. Okay, yeah. So learning theory. Okay, yeah. The teaching strategy is depend on the learning theories that adapt by teacher. Okay, so different learning theory will require different teaching strategy. Okay, and then we have 2 different learning theories. Okay, one fall under directed teaching strategies or teaching learning theory, and then the second is constructivist learning theory. So we want to move teacher from directed, okay, learning theory into constructivist learning theory. Okay, so that's why it's very important now, if we can see in the slide. Okay, so the role of teacher is not directed, which is more on the stage, which is the traditional classroom, that everything is depend on the teacher. So we want to move from teacher-centered to student-centered, which is in the technology we call it guide on the side. So teacher can facilitate, okay, can be a facilitator, because in terms of content, everything's, you know, available now online. So teacher's role just to guide a student, okay, to what the content that appropriate, okay, and what learning strategy that appropriate to the given situation. So this very much depend on learning theory. Okay. So we know that we move from directed learning theories into constructivist. Okay, we know that from directed learning theory, we have behaviorist theories, information processing theories, cognitive, and then system theory or systematic instructional design, which is very much on teacher-centered. If teacher adopt or adapt this kind of theory, the teaching strategy or teaching approach will be teacher-centered. We don't want that. We want to move from a teacher-centered to student-centered. Okay, so that's why we need the inquiry-based technology integration strategy, which is based on constructivist learning theory. Okay, highlighted by first presenter, like scaffolding theory, okay, discovery learning, okay, social activity theory, where the main focus is our student. Okay, so this the one and the first ingredient that teachers should know in order to come up with the effective teaching strategy in their teaching. Okay, so move to the second. Okay, yeah. Okay, we have a technological pedagogical content knowledge model. Okay, where it is very much necessary for a teacher in order to successfully integrate or infuse technology into their teaching. They should have this kind of knowledge. Okay, first, of course, the content. Okay, yeah. So TPAC is kind of interplay or combination of different component. Okay, starting from the content. Okay, of course, teacher should know the subject that we are going to teach, what we call it the content. Okay, I think we don't have any problem with it. Okay, and then of course, each content require different pedagogy. Okay, what are the teaching approach? What model of teaching that teacher want to use for that particular subject? Of course, different subject require different pedagogy. Okay, I think for teacher, we don't have any problem with it. Okay, now we have technology. Okay, so tools are very important, especially in this pandemic. Okay, we cannot run the class without online learning. Is it that online learning require tool? Okay, we need smartphone, we need the software, hardware, and so on and so forth. Okay, so technology, platform, software are needed. Okay, yeah, by having this knowledge, TPEC, a teacher can come up with the best teaching strategy by giving the content, pedagogy that suit to that content, and then what are technology that can help teacher to conduct, okay, to run the teaching process. So this is very important. So we call it TPEC. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is the second ingredient, because technology alone without knowledge, I mean without pedagogy, without content, they call it tool still full without knowledge. Okay, we don't want to be full, is it right? Okay, we want to use that tool effectively. So teacher need this knowledge. Okay, yeah. So of course, by having this knowledge, I mean TPEX, knowing the content, pedagogy, and technology, a teacher can select what kind of technology. Here I give you a general. Okay, yeah, because it depends on teacher. Teacher can select what are the best technology, what the best tool that they can use to deliver their subject. Okay, can be anything. Okay, it depends on teacher. Okay, yeah. So we are giving the knowledge for teacher, and then we giving a freedom for teacher to select what is the best for that particular setting. Okay, they can use, for example, Webex, okay, for communication, or Zoom, Google Meet, okay, and for the assessment they can use quizzes, okay, what is it, Minty like I use, or pull anything, okay, yeah. So teacher will decide that, okay, but of course we should train them first, okay. So the Bloom's taxonomy, just the example of Bloom's taxonomy in digital technology, okay, starting from what are kind of tool that teacher can use in order to achieve the first or basic Bloom's taxonomy, which is remember, okay, or what are the tool that teacher can use if they want to have, achieve kind of the learning outcome, which is they have element of analyzing, okay, or creations, and so on and so forth. So teacher can select appropriate tool for that setting. Okay. Okay, move to the third ingredient. I think I'm moving fast here, so we can, allocate time for discussion more. Okay, yeah. Okay. So of course, we should have a technology integration planning. Okay, we know that planning is very important. Okay, if you have all those necessary materials, but of course you should put the planning there. Okay, so if you don't have a planning, especially with the technology, okay, yeah, the class won't be effective. Okay, yeah. So infusing technology, integrating technology into teaching activities or teaching process require proper planning. Okay, yeah. Even if we don't want to use technologies, planning still a must. Okay, yeah. So we call it technology integrations planning. Okay, so we have, of course, they have 5 phases. Okay, start with the phase one, okay, we should reflect on technological, pedagogical content knowledge, which is TPEC, okay? So we can assess there the knowledge, okay? What is my knowledge of technology? So what is my knowledge of pedagogy? What is my knowledge of the content? And then where do I see myself in the TPEX model? Okay, so it is very important for teacher to have kind of self-assessment to themselves. Do they have knowledge on content? Of course, teacher they have. Okay, do they have knowledge? I mean, proper knowledge on pedagogy, model of teaching? Yes. Okay, so what their knowledge in terms of technology? This is very important. Okay, yeah, like what we read from news. Okay, that some teacher are unable to conduct the class because they don't have any knowledge, even to use the simple communication tool, like for example, what is it, the Zoom, for example. Okay, yeah. So we start on that. So knowledge on technology is very important. Okay, yeah. Okay, move to the second phase. Okay, which is determine relative advantages. Okay, so teachers should analyze whether it's effective to use the technology, whether it's useful to use technology, because technology is expensive. Okay, and then using technology require extra time for teacher to prepare. So if using technology didn't add other value to their teaching strategy, so teacher should avoid using technology. Okay, yeah. Okay, so technology is not just luxury. I mean, to look cool in teaching. Why? Because you're using technology. No. We have to determine what the advantages of using technology. Okay, yeah. So the phase three, okay, decide on objective and assessment. Of course, when we use technology or when we integrate technology, the assessment will be different from not using technology. Offline teaching and learning process, the assessment will be different when we conduct class online. Okay, so teacher should decide what kind of assessment that you want to assess the teaching in order to ensure that the objective of the teaching and learning process are achieved. Okay, so design integration strategy. Yeah, so this is very important. So what the teaching strategy? Again, teaching strategy are important here. Okay, so teachers should decide what a teaching strategy and activity that will work best for that particular setting. Okay. Teacher who decide. Again and again, teacher is very important. Okay, yeah. Okay, what kind of instructional media are needed? Okay, how can technology best support this method? Okay, if teacher decide on the pedagogy or model of teaching or teaching approach already, then he start to think about what are the technology that best suit or support that kind of method. Okay, and then how can I prepare students adequately to use technology? Okay, if we need student to master certain skill on technology because you want to use it, okay, so you should prepare student for that. If you want to use online, for example, class, if students didn't know on how to use, for example, Zoom, for example, if you want to conduct the class using Zoom, I mean, you should prepare a student that they have adequate knowledge and then they have a tool, of course. Okay, so this another consideration that teachers should bear with it. Okay, and then the last phase for the technology integration planning is prepare instructional environment. So, of course, what equipment, software, media, okay, and material that needed to carry out the instructional strategies. Okay, so what are the resources are needed? Okay, yeah, and then teachers start to plan. Okay, to put all together to make all those materials can work smoothly and then achieve the objective of teaching. Okay, so this is the technology integration planning. So planning, very important. Okay, yeah. So now, okay, we have another phase. Okay, so we have 6 phases basically. Okay, yeah. Evaluation, of course, in the end, you should evaluate. Okay, you should assess, or perhaps it need revision. For example, if something's not work here and there, so you should revise, you should improve. This the objective of evaluation in the end of every classes, or in every teaching strategy that teacher use in whatever class, whether it is online class or offline class. Okay, yeah. So evaluation is very important. Okay, yeah. So now we're done with the third ingredient. Now we come to the last, but it's not least. Okay, yeah. So by this we end this, and then open for kind of discussion. Okay, yeah. So of course, okay, after we having learning theories, and then we know the how to use technology TPEX, and then we have a planning, we plan properly, and that is the essential condition for effective teaching, for effective digital technology integration. Okay, so I focus on, we have numbers here, but I focus on 3 here. Okay, to shorten the time. Okay, we start with okay, I think you can read this. Okay, yeah. So okay, so okay, so I think I focus on 3. Okay, yeah. So assess the hardware. This is very important. Okay, yeah. You know, we read the news that some schools are totally stopped. Why? Because they don't have hardware. How do you want to run the online class if they don't have even the smartphone, for example, to communicate with the teachers? So this also is not happening only in Indonesia, even in the Malaysia. Okay, we are struggling with it. Even in the university levels, you know, the management instruct all the lectures, this in university level. Okay, that if student didn't have this luxury to the hardware, we should post. Okay, we should burn it into pen drive, and then we should post it to a student. Imagine that. We use technology, but the technology we should, you know, put it in pen drive, and then we post it to student. Why? Because student didn't have access to all the hardware. Okay, yeah. So teacher should bear with it. Okay, yeah. So this is the condition. Okay, without this, you cannot run the class. Okay, hardware is very important. Like today, if we don't have computer, if we don't have software, we cannot have kind of international webinar even. Okay, yeah. So hardware is very important, and software as well, and other resources. Okay, so that's why it's very important, especially, you know, when we are, for example, our lectures in the Faculty of Education. Okay, so this very important for us to think, because we are producing teacher, these things should be available in our faculty. Okay, yeah. So finding the funding, purchasing hardware and software, setting up, maintaining physical facilities. Okay, yeah. So of course the technology should be functioning. Okay, yeah. Okay, another essential condition: skill, personnel, and opportunity. Okay, yeah. So this is very important. We should train teacher. Okay, yeah, because using technology require knowledge, extra knowledge. Okay, normally in offline class, without technology is okay. I mean, teaching will up and running. Okay, but when we want to use technology, teacher as well as students should familiar with this kind of technology. What kind of technology you want to use? Okay, first of all, teachers should master it. Okay, so need kind of training, hands-on. Okay, yeah. Okay, so training over the time. Okay, modeling, mentoring. So we should mentor. Okay, yeah. we should kind of evaluations. We can ask the teachers what are the challenges that they are facing. Okay, yeah.
Excuse me, Dr. Hamid, we've got 10 minutes to go.
Okay, 10 minutes. Yeah. I will finish up in less than that, inshallah. Okay, yeah. So this is the last conditions. Okay, technical assistant. Okay, yeah. Based on the research that I think some of you read the finding of the current research. Okay, teachers are reluctant to use technology because of knowledge, the fear of technology. Okay, afraid, that he will damage technology. So that why need the assistant. Okay, normally in university levels, even in school, they have a lab and they have someone who in charge on that lab. If teacher use it and they need assistant, that personnel, that staff are ready to assist teacher to use that. Okay, this is very important. Okay, yeah. Okay, so a teacher is not developer or it's not like technician. So we cannot expect that a teacher can, address, what is it, the problem of computer maintenance problem and so on and so forth. So we should give them kind of skill that technician there ready to assist them anytime. Okay, yeah. So of course, okay, a school must support teacher by replacing and repairing equipment. Of course, this is very necessary. If you have a lab but it's not functioning, so no point. Okay, so these are the essential conditions to successfully integrate the digital technology in teaching. Okay. Okay, appropriate teaching assessment. So I skip this. Okay, so let ponder of this. Okay, yeah. Technology won't replace teachers. Okay, technology cannot, okay, and will not replace teacher. But teacher who use technology will probably replace teacher who didn't use technology. Teacher, be careful, learn technology. Otherwise, you will be replaced by those teacher who technology savvy. Okay, so I conclude. Okay, this by Nancy. They can be infinite users of new age technology. Okay, because we have kind of advanced technology. But if teachers themselves are not able to bring it into the classroom and make it work, then it fails. Okay. We have, the advanced technology, but if teacher cannot bring it into a teaching and learning process, it means that no point. Okay. So I conclude, empowering teacher with technology integration skill will excel them in their teaching strategy in digital era. By that, I end this presentation. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right, Dr. Abdul Hamid Bustani Nur, thank you very much for another very insightful and impressive perspectives on empowering teachers. Yeah, particularly here, Dr. Hamid highlighted the technology literacy, and I'm very interested in very strong emphasis or statement that no single technology, even the most sophisticated one, can replace the teachers, but the teachers must be technology literate in order to maximize their roles in teaching. I think it's in line with what has been said by Mr. Remark earlier. Yeah, and then we can elaborate that later. Thank you very much, Dr. Hamid. Then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope everyone is still there, concentrating on the materials, and I think so. Yeah, thank you very much, Ibu Bapak, ladies and gentlemen, to keep focusing on the perspectives presented by our speakers. We are now coming to the last presenter, last but not least, the Dean of School of Education or Teacher Training and Education Faculty of University of Muhammadiyah, Professor Dr. Hamka, Dr. Desvian Bandarsyah. Dr. Desvian Bandarsyah will present the perspective on new literacy-based adaptation of primary school education. Let's listen and internalize together what will be presented.
Thank you, Mr. Silihwarni. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. La haula wala quwata illa billah. Amma ba'du. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, the Honorable Raymark Basager and my brother, Dr. Abdul Hamid from Malaysia, Professor Gunawan, and moderator, Mr. Silihwarni, PhD. Thank you for taking part in this webinar and joining this session. I am pleased to meet you all in this virtual seminar. Today, I'd like to present new literacy-based adaptation of primary school education. Analysis of era changes. Three dominant characteristics in the 21st century of digital era. The first, digitalization. The second, automation or artificial intelligence. And third, orchestration. In the near future, everything in human life will turn into completely digital, fully automatic, and even inventable. Thus, humans are forced to dance in the orchestration. Jadi kita itu memang di era sekarang ini, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, harus mengikuti proses-proses yang berlangsung. The boundaries of space and time that have been the main obstacle for several decades, for example, in terms of communication, have now collapsed. People from all over the world can now connect with each other very quickly, cheaply, and easily. Education as an actor, or primary education, is an important actor in preparing Indonesia's future generation. In the midst of the nation increasingly complex problems. Among others, it is caused by the weakening of the attitude of inclusion and awareness of diversity and nationality. Primary education needs to look at itself in its silent reflection by thinking and reflecting on what to do, how to do it, and what to do with it. Finding self. Education guides their students to find themselves. This has no subject unless it is hidden in the excitement of the process that takes place in the classroom and school when students with the curriculum interact with each other through learning materials. Then it is right need in the family and society. The urgency of education in the digital era. The urgency of our basic education, speech of freedom, the curiosity of the nation's generation, together with the power of imagination and creativity that they have, needs to be built through adequate space for freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to highlight that in the Indonesian context, this concept is in line with Merdeka Belajar or Freedom of Learning program. Freedom of Learning program, it is being developed by Indonesian Education Ministry to give more space for students to express themselves in the learning process, so that encourage students in independence and creativity. Urgency of primary education, self-awareness, encourage children to reach the top of success in identifying their abilities, potential, and talents. They become future humans with their autonomous identities. Dialectics. Such identities are developed in generation through a dialectical process of interplay between universal values and particular values, what they have in common and what is culturally specific. Problematizing literacy. Literacy is a person's ability to absorb, process, and understanding information when reading and writing with regard to a broad culture perspective relating to social, political, and economic discourse. The new paradigm in word development has given a complex meaning to the term literacy. Strengthening new literacy. Education is faced with the dynamic of strategic environmental changes that are now of equal importance and are very turbulent. So it must be able to develop. The first, IT literacy. The second, data literacy, and humanity literacy. In the near future, everything is human life will turn into completely digital, fully automatic, and even inventable. So education needs to understand the challenge and problems. I might have never been imagined before how, for example, the feeling of people or negative effect of bullying for the victim. As Hannah Arendt said, all the dead seem to have become a kind of banality. We should be worried about this. Moreover, of course, it will be even more dangerous in the future if more and more people think this is a natural thing. So problems often occur because some people are affected by a syndrome of mindlessness. which has directly degraded their human essence. Teacher build relation between home and school. Students as novice teachers need to know that the demand of life in the modern era have made home and parents a place to stop and rest solely with minimal interaction and educational value. The relationship between home and school has developed into a rigid situation, making their communication weaker and less likely to be resolved by the social system in which they live. We have to remember that the main essence of technology present and its use is humanization, not the humanization, as we're saying nowadays. The use of this media actually degrades the ideal essence of humanity. For example, some people do not hesitate to join in condemning, cursing, judging, bullying, spreading slander, hatred, and fake news without feeling guilty. Returning to noble values. So, what our primary education needs is a return to the value and tradition of education. In actual education, something sacred, namely education itself, which will never and should not change only because of the increasingly mechanical and instrumental development of the world out there. Temptation of digital era. Finally, the temptation of digital era and the sparkling of new literacy is clearly very dazzling. Some have successfully used it to reinforce the essence of humanity. However, there are others who have fallen so that they are only trapped in the snare and full of dehumanization. One thing is for sure, new literacy is nothing but a way to protect and save our humanity in digital era. Without this human essence, a person becomes ignorant, loses imagination and gentleness. One thing is for sure, every human being has the same opportunity to become the perpetrator or victim of negative action in the digital era. Okay, that's all my presentation. I hope it gives new perspective in viewing primary education in digital era. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Desvian Bandarsyah, for presenting the the new paradigm, or new literacy-based adaptation of primary school education. I think it wrapped up, or it gave kind of frame to the other two presenters, and I saw like a very good chemistry here among our three presenters. Yeah, they prepared the materials themselves separately, but we could see obviously how their materials are connected to each other, how things are in line with each other. As I can highlight here, what Dr. Desvian Bandarsyah just emphasized, the essence of education, which is the value that need to be built among students in line with the principles of the freedom of learning. And on the other hand, Dr. Hamid emphasized the very prominent role of teachers that cannot be replaced by any single technology, as well as emphasized by Mr. Remark about the important roles of teachers in redesigning the materials in adjusting to the new context. Thank you very much for the three presenters. And now it comes to the question and answer session. As I have invited before, I would like to give chance for the participants, Ibu Bapak semua. Please, you may raise questions to our presenters here. You may throw it through the chat box, or you may raise hands. I'll check the chat box first. I've got questions because we've got a YouTube channel as well with participants joining there, and we've got some questions here. Okay. Here, the first questions. I think it is addressed to any relevant speakers. Jadi pertanyaannya begini, I will share the questions in 2 languages ya Ibu Bapak. Saya yakin ini semua sudah menyimak dengan seksama dan mengikuti materi yang sudah disampaikan. We'll give you chance to share in English, and I'll give chance also for the speakers to give further explanation in Indonesian. Yang pertama, bagaimana bobot muatan redesign materi pembelajaran antara teori, praktek, dan karakter. I think it's quite relevant to Mr. Remark materials. Mr. Remark, are you there?
Yes, Pak.
Yeah,
yes,
it is a question by, I think it's a teacher from South Borneo. So we've got participants from all around Indonesia, Mr. Remark here. And one questions come from a participant from South Borneo. Yeah. How is the portion of redesigning the materials? I mean, we try to take a look at the theory and practice. Yeah. The participant want to ask, how should they consider the theory and practices in redesigning the materials in relation to the character building? Yeah, I think he tried to catch your materials on the theories of redesigning materials and how it could be applicable, yeah, with regards to the concern on character building, because I think it's in Indonesian context, we are concerned also with the character building. If you could give more, elaboration on the theories and practice of, redesigning the materials.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. As I understand it, as I presented the material on the redesigning of learning materials, the different learning materials in the context of the COVID-19, and as well as it is applicable on the context after the pandemic or the COVID-19 pandemic. No, its connection actually on the character building on our teachers is that first, as the quotation on the last slide as I presented, no? If we will train the teachers, to appropriately do the things as the teachers do, including the idea of having enough knowledge, having enough ideas on the pedagogical and and on the theories on how to design properly the learning materials. I believe doing such is actually building the character of the teacher on how really to perform, to do his or her job properly, and considering all the context that is present, and in consideration of what is on the learner, where is the learner, who is the learner, and considering all of those, it is actually building the character of a truly well-trained, a considerate, and a well-effective designer of a learning material inside a classroom, in general, of a curriculum being presented inside a classroom. I hope I answered the question. Paxili, you are muted. You are muted.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Raymark. I think it has explained quite sufficiently in terms of the theories and practice and how it relates to the character building that becomes the concern as well in Indonesian education. And Ibu Bapak, if we notified, Mr. Raymark already gave very, comprehensive explanation as well in his presentation about the procedural aspects of how the materials could be designed. Step-by-step procedure was presented, and I think it's very applicable. Itu sangat aplikatif yang tadi disampaikan oleh Mr. Raymark. Bagaimana I notified here the concept of 5E. Let me take a minus. I've got a lot of notes here. Ada
Sure.
5E starting from what is it? The first is engage please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Raymark. Saya hanya menekankan saja ada 5 prinsip E tadi. Engage, melibatkan siswa, students engagement, and then explore first. Explore, engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and then evaluate. Ibu Bapak, itu bisa menjadi catatan. It could be very important notes for you to be applied in everyone's context. And then the second questions, selama ini I think it is relevant to any presenters. For the second questions, I would address it to Dr. Hamid. Are you still with us, Dr. Hamid?
Yeah.
Right. Selama ini lebih banyak tuntutan akademik untuk teori, bahkan selalu guru menuntut pekerjaan rumah, sehingga membuat siswa jenuh, kecewa, dan malas. Bagaimana seharusnya yang dilakukan guru? Dr. Hamid, it deals with the issue of giving homework that to some extent is perceived as burden for students, so that students sometimes feel demotivated in learning. Then how could you see this phenomena? I think it could be related as well with the integration of technology and teachers' roles, as you explained earlier. Please, Dr. Hamid.
Okay, all right. This kind of the issue sometimes raise up. Students are complaining. Because so many workload that they should bear with it, and then a less of interactions between the student and teacher. But teacher most of the time are giving the task assignment that the student sometimes cannot bear with it. But basically. I think this is a complex issue basically. So we cannot see from one angle, but so many angles involved. So I just want to highlight something that I posted in the third slide. That great teachers are inspired. So this is very important. Normally, I think you have the same experiences like me, and perhaps other teachers, that sometimes we like a subject because we like the teacher, okay? Or the other way around, okay? We hate the subject. It's not because of subject itself, because we hate the teacher, okay? Yeah. So this have correlation with it, okay? Yeah. So if a teacher are able to convey student, okay, with whatever expertise that teacher has, okay, and then can convey the student, and then students start, fall in love with your subject, with your strategy, okay, yeah. So the task assignments that you give them won't be a problem. Why? Because they like the way on how you handle the teaching, okay, yeah. So this very much on that, okay, yeah. But of course, other than that, teachers should be very careful in giving kind of assignment tasks, okay? Because assignment or task or assessment is basically part of learning, part of teaching, basically. So the person shouldn't be overloaded, okay? That, until a student feel that teacher just giving assignment other than, make it thing easy, okay? Yeah. Again, I just, want to remind all of us, including me, okay, yeah, that our prophet is a model, okay, that the prophet said to make it easy, okay, yeah. So, it's depend on your creativity on how to make everything easy, okay, until the student are love with the subject and they're not complaining with whatever kind of process that you give, including the assessment and assignment, okay, or task, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope that this will address the question. Okay, thank you.
Actually, can I add on the statement of?
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah. The statement of the my fellow presenter is indeed correct. No, if giving assignment is actually will become a burden on the part of the student if we give an assignment that we actually do not teach, or actually we do not present to the student, and it makes it difficult for them to answer that assignment. But if we and another, if we give many assignments, but I believe as a good teacher, we know and we understand that assignment should be a reinforcement only, no, a reinforcement of what we have presented in the classroom. So it is important also to give an assignment, but as a teacher, we should remember not to make that assignment as a burden to our student, in such a way that we give a lot of assignments, in such a way that it is difficult for them to finish in that night or on the succeeding days to come. So we should remember that giving assignment must be a reinforcement only of the topic presented inside the classroom. So therefore, we should not give so much assignment, because it can mean that we haven't presented all in our learning process. So it is important to give one to further improve the learning of the student. But as a teacher, we should consider giving only an appropriate number or items of assignment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for adding or enriching the explanations of the questions dealing with homework. I think this issue is relevant to every teacher in all contexts, not only Indonesia. Thank you very much, Dr. Hamid and Mr. Remark. And then here I've got another questions in the chat box to Dr. Desvian. You said that primary education becomes an important actor in preparing the future of the nation. How is the empowerment of learning in the digital era to make education effective, for the nation generation? How is the empowerment of learning in the digital era to make education effective? Mr. Desvian, would you respond to these questions, please? Yeah, from Aditya.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Aditya. Mr. Aditya. Primary education becomes an important factor because it raises values and builds character of the nation generation. The good generation with excellent quality will create bright future the nation. Models of learning that rise values and build students. Values and build students' character are needed. It is important in the digital era to pay attention on how education involving IT can still have orientation on the values, especially values in the IT-based modern society that can support the transmission of value in education in digital era. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Desvian, for responding that questions dealing with the explanation of why then education become a main actor, yeah, for the future generation. It's really strongly related to the other two presenters' perspectives as well. I would mention like Dr. Hamid explains the the power of teachers, yeah, the strength of teacher in the top level is inspiring students. I think that is the most important part that could not be replaced by technology, yeah, Dr. Hamid. Great teacher inspires students. I think it could be in line with what just been explained by Dr. Desvian. All right, we move to next questions. Here we've got another questions from our YouTube channel from Mr. Agung Surya, Tangerang, Indonesia. It could be addressed to any presenter. I would read first. How to upgrade our student which they can understand of our lesson with online system? The case because the students also learn the lesson lonely without their parents. Okay, I think I would give first chance to Mr. Remark, because in one of your slides you mentioned about the the role of
the parents.
Parents, yeah.
Faxili, can I ask you to repeat the question? I don't get the last part of the question.
Okay, here I try to rearrange a little bit the questions. How to equip students with the capabilities in the online learning mode so that they can learn in in a maximum performance, even though they study alone and they study at home. Yeah, how could they still maximize the learning process?
Yeah, I get the question. I believe the presentation, the material which I presented a moment ago, sort of pass by with that question, because if we design properly our learning material being given to our respective students, if we design properly the learning material, taking into consideration all the steps, for example, I've included on my slide presentation, like putting visuals, adding, following a logical sequence of presentation, plus the reinforcement in which we constantly communicate with our students. How are you now? Asking them if they answer the problem, and of course doing some online class if possible. If not, let's use the low technology like chatting them, reminding them. I believe that doing such, designing the learning material appropriately and properly according to their context, according to their interests, according to their level, plus constant follow-up, a reinforcement, a video lesson, a Google meeting or a Zoom meeting or a chat or a text will eventually maximize how the student will learn the material that we want them to learn.
Thank you, Mr. Remark, for the tips of how to enhance student learning during the studying from home. Again, it's is relevant to everyone in any context now. And I would invite Dr. Hamid to add another, probably tips, as we know that Dr. Hamid's, expertise is in the integration of technology, and we could see how vital the technology is in this era. Could you please?
Yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah. So thank you very much. Okay, yeah. The first of all, we should, change our paradigm, okay, about the, different setting require, different paradigm. We cannot expect, okay, online learning, okay, as the same as offline learning. We have, because these are the issues. Sometimes we expect that student will show the motivation, okay, as when we, having a class offline, we want to have the same passion, the same motivation from our student when we conduct online learning. Okay, of course, it's totally different. Okay, yeah. But what are the things that we can help the student? Okay, we try not to give a feeling to a student that they are alone. Of course, when a student feel alone and then they don't have someone to, to refer to, of course, the performance will very low. Okay, yeah. So with the advance of technology on how we, give assumption to a student, that student is not alone. Okay, teacher can be accessed anytime. Okay, so this kind of setting should be communicated to a student that you are not alone, although you are at home, but the teacher are ready anytime to assist you. Okay, by having communication using WhatsApps, whatever the tool that we have. So a student are reminded and students not feeling alone. And then if student have kind of difficulties, he can refer to a teacher easily. So this kind of a strategy can help a student to solve the problem of whatever they are facing in terms of finishing the assignments or understanding the new subject in their home. Why? Because a teacher ready there. Okay, and with the technology we can make it. Okay, yeah. Sometimes in my experiences, sometimes I give in the time until 12 at night, so student can still contact me for whatever, for example, difficulties that they are facing, and then they done it, and then we can do that, which is we cannot do it if offline, is it right? Okay, but online we just send it the WhatsApp, for example, so I can reply or respond anytime that I have. Okay, so student feels not alone. Okay, that they have a teacher that they can refer anytime. So this kind of a setting perhaps can help a student to solve their problem. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hamid, for enriching another, tips dealing with motivating students. As we can see, when they feel that study online, then it tends to demotivate them. But as Mr. Hamid mentioned, that we can motivate them through some strategies, yeah, integrating technologies as well. Thank you. And then next questions, it is addressed to Dr. Desvian, but I think it is also interesting to hear perspectives about these questions from other contexts, as we've got Malaysian and Philippine context, we could hear as well about this. The question is this: how to help students with special needs to increase their literacy? Yeah, how to help students with special needs as they are part of the educations. We cannot avoid that. We should accommodate them anyway. Then in Dr. Desvian's presentations, he highlighted about the humanization process. I think it could be in line with that point particularly. So I will give the first chance to Dr. Desvian to respond to these questions, how to help students with special needs to increase their literacy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Siri. Lia Mariza, student with special needs become a concern of society. A concern of society taking care of humanity to increase their literacy. We can give the more space for equality to learn. For equality to learn, it can include giving them special facilities to access of information and extra assistance for learning technology skills.
All right. It's a very strategic, point highlighted by Dr. Desvian dealing with the inclusive education. Yeah, I think inclusive education, Dr. Desvian mentioned, giving students more access for information and as well as giving extra assistance for technology skills improvement. What about perspectives from other presenters? Probably you may also share in the Malaysian and Philippine context in dealing with students with special needs. I would
okay. Okay, perhaps I will respond to that. Okay, yeah. I think I will answer with my experiences, and then it's happened that I'm deal with I have a grant now. I mean, the research grant that deal with the special student. Okay, yeah. So of course, a special student has need more intention from us. Okay, more care from us, because special student is not like a normal student. We should have more intention to them. Okay, yeah. What we done here, okay, but now it's in the process. Okay, so we try to come up with a kind of applications, okay, that they can use in their home. So we design the kind of curriculum. Okay, yeah. So from the textbook, we convert it into application that easy for them to access even in their home, even offline. So just they install it in their gadget, because normally now everyone has gadget. Okay, so although they are away from the school or away from a teacher, but they still learn. Okay, but of course we redesign it in such a way that this fun, okay, fun learning. We put a game there. We put kind of things that that interest them. Okay, yeah. Of course, we do the study first. What are the things that will motivate the special student? So we do all the research, and then we consult with the expert, okay, who are concerned about the special need the student. So after we get all those information, we redesign kind of applications. We take the subject that merely in the textbook, we convert it into application, okay, and then we put a lot of things there and redesign it to cater their need. And alhamdulillah, the response very, very positive. Okay, this one of the the strategy that we can think about, okay, and to help them, because special need, it's not the same like a normal student. Okay, so this is the thing that we done. Okay, yeah, here, okay, yeah, and this based on my experiences as running the research grant. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you very much. So yeah, it's part of the experiences in handling or in dealing with students with special needs that should be given same concern on how to humanize them. Thank you, Dr. Hamid. Now, Mr. Rayma, would you also share your perspectives on
Yeah.
this context? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is a good question. I am not a special education teacher, but I believe based from an experience, um, Dr. Hamid is right that um, these special students is really different in different contexts with our normal student. That's why I believe that we, as a teacher, we need to learn first what is their speciality. Are they mute? Are they deaf? What is their speciality? No, because if they are mute or deaf, for example, we need to. I believe we need to help them first with those speciality that they want. Because if we don't that they because if we do not understand what is their need, no, if we do not understand what is their need, we might not we might teach, but they might not understand it, no, because for example, if we are if that student are are deaf, they cannot hear well, for example, if we continue teaching, no, in a Zoom meeting, of course, even they stay in the Zoom meeting or in the Google Meet, they cannot hear it. So I believe that we need to understand first and let them know that maybe we can help them, or for example, address first their need like a hearing aid, for example, and then if they are if they are with different disability, no, we need to know first their disability, and then from that we need to adjust the context of the discussion, no, to their level, so that at that point we can help the student better understand and better learn the best of their ability, no, without compromising those students inside the other classroom, because in the Philippines we have the idea of the inclusive education, and we are trying to mainstream those students with special needs um, um, slowly in the mainstream of education. So we need to understand them first and then address that need, and then eventually adjust the context of the discussion into their level. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Raymark. I think we in different contexts share the same view in terms of taking care of them as part of us that should be given the same right for education. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, all presenters. I think we are now at the end of our session. I know that a lot of questions have not been responded due to the limitation of the time. I apologize for that. Hopefully we can still have another opportunity for such discussion. But I will not conclude the materials from the presenters, but I'm sure everyone has taken into account the points or the essences of every presenter's insights or perspectives to be taken home, to add or to increase the literacy. As at the end, as a teacher, we need to base every decision on strong justification, references, and consideration. Thank you very much. Give great applause to our three presenters. Thank you very much. I will give the time back to our Master of Ceremony, Ms. Nova. Please, I'll give back the time to you. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
All right, and may we have a conclusion statement from each speaker, and we will give 5 minutes for each speaker to give a conclusion. May we start it with Mr. Ray Pasagre, please?
Yes, thank you so much. Of course, this webinar, most of the focus of the discussion is actually on the teacher. We see that at the time of the pandemic, the role of the teacher is immense. The role of the teacher is very important. No, even though the students are in their respective homes, or even after the pandemic, the role of the teacher is really important, and we see it now. Without the teacher, we are having a problem on how the students behave, how the students learn, how the student will get the competency. Hence, I believe that we teachers must be abreast with the competency of being a teacher, design learning resources according to the needs of the students, design learning materials according to the context of the students, imbibe all the necessary skills that we need, especially including those the digital literacy and the digital competencies that we need at this time. But we need to take note that it is not at the end, no, this technology must help us cater a better learning experience for the student, no, and not, of course, to add burden to the feelings and to the situation of the students. We must be at present must be more understanding than ever. At present, we must be more careful with what we are saying to our students than ever, because since we cannot see them, since we do not see the reactions, their comment, their how they behave, hence therefore, no, we need to be extra careful with our students at this time, at this trying time that they are finding hard to live and find for living in their respective setting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ray Mark Pasagre. And now, the closing statement from Mr. Dr. Abdul Hamid Bustanul Nur.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, yeah. So I conclude that empowering primary education's teaching strategy in digital era is on the teachers. Okay, so as we know that the teachers is the main actor in the whole process of teaching. Okay, so if we can prepare a teacher, we train them, we give them the necessary knowledge, technological knowledge. Okay, so we give them space, we provide them with the access. Okay, so if we empower a teacher with technology integration skill, of course the result, okay, the education will excel, and we can see that a lot of different teaching strategy will come up from teacher that have all those necessary knowledge. Okay, by empowering them, okay, teacher will be ready to face any kind of situation, any kind of challenges. It's not only pertaining to a pandemic COVID-19, but any kind of challenges. If we are able to empower a teacher, they will stay there, and then they are ready to face any kind of challenges. So again and again, empowering a teaching strategy in digital era, it means that empowering a teacher to face that challenges. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bustamil Nur. And now, the last but not least, the closing statement from Mr. Desvian Bandarsyah.
Thank you, Mrs. Nova. Ladies and gentlemen, primary education becomes an important actor because it raises values and builds character of nation generation. Jadi pendidikan dasar itu menjadi aktor penting disebabkan karena ia menanamkan nilai-nilai bagi keberlangsungan generasi bangsa. Ini penting, maka digarisbawahi. The good generation with excellent quality will create bright future for the nation. Models of learning that raises values and builds student character are needed. It is important in the digital era. Sekali lagi, ini menjadi penting di era digital to pay attention on how education involving IT can still have orientation on the value, especially values in the IT-based modern society that can support the transmission of value in education in digital era. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Desvian Bandarsyah. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the end of our event, International Webinar, Empowering Primary Education Teaching Strategies in Digital Era, held by Primary Teacher Education Program, UHAMKA. Thank you very much for all the participants. And we will want to let you know that the certificate will be sent to you by email. And once again, you can find any information about Primary Teacher Education Program in our Instagram PGSD UHAMKA. Ibu dan Bapak hadirin sekalian, kami ingatkan untuk para peserta agar mengisi daftar hadir yang sudah di-share di link YouTube maupun di chat Zoom. Sertifikat akan dikirimkan kepada Anda melalui email. Dan jangan lupa untuk memfollow Instagram PGSD UHAMKA. We do apologize if there were any single mistake done. Let's postpone this meeting by reciting Hamdalah. We'll see you in the next event. I'm Novanita. Wabillahi taufiq walhidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Kiai Haji Ahmad Dahlan, pendiri Perserikatan Muhammadiyah yang memiliki spirit mencerdaskan, mencerahkan, dan berkemajuan sejak dulu hingga sekarang. Buya Hamka, sosok ulama intelektual bangsa yang menginspirasi kami membentuk generasi muda yang unggul dalam kecerdasan spiritual, intelektual, emosional, dan sosial. Universitas Muhammadiyah Profesor Dr. Hamka atau biasa disebut UHAMKA hadir di tengah-tengah kota metropolitan Jakarta dengan lokasi perkuliahan yang mudah dijangkau berbagai sarana transportasi ibu kota. Kemudahan aksesibilitas meningkatkan efektivitas agar generasi muda bisa lebih mudah mendapatkan pendidikan yang lebih berkualitas. UHAMKA, universitas yang mengedepankan nilai al-Islam dan kemuhammadiyahan dalam proses belajar mengajar dan di segala aspek kehidupan, untuk membentuk lulusan yang unggul secara intelektual maupun spiritual.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dengan lisensi akreditasi A yang kami miliki, lulusan UHAMKA bisa dengan mudah memasuki dunia kerja yang serba kompetitif maupun sukses dalam berwirausaha. Karena UHAMKA membekali pribadi setiap lulusan berkarakter, cerdas, kreatif, dan inovatif di era industri 4.0 yang serba digital.
UHAMKA memiliki 10 fakultas dengan sarana dan prasarana perkuliahan modern seperti Fakultas Farmasi dan Sains, didukung oleh tenaga pengajar ahli dengan sarana dan prasarana perkuliahan yang modern untuk mencetakkan lulusan yang handal dalam penelitian kesehatan.
Alasan saya memilih di UHAMKA adalah karena alat-alat yang lengkap dan tenaga-tenaga pengajar di sini adalah dosen-dosen yang profesional.
Salah satu studi unggulan adalah penelitian uji kehalalan bahan makanan. Bidang penelitian ini sering menjadi rujukan perusahaan besar dalam menentukan kehalalan suatu produk. Fakultas Ilmu Kedokteran dengan fasilitas laboratorium yang komprehensif menerapkan sistem belajar mengajar yang selalu bersinergi antara pengembangan teori dengan praktek perkuliahan. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis membentuk lulusan yang handal di bidang ekonomi dan bisnis keislaman dengan salah satu studi yang diterapkan adalah filantropi keislaman. Sarana perkuliahan juga dilengkapi dengan perpustakaan dengan bahan pembelajaran yang fokus pada studi ekonomi, akuntansi, manajemen, serta perbankan keislaman. Selain itu, terdapat juga laboratorium bank syariah. Fakultas Teknik menerapkan sistem pembelajaran yang mengasah kecerdasan dan kemahiran mahasiswa dalam menguasai bidang studi pilihannya, sehingga dapat berkontribusi langsung pada kemajuan teknologi serta mempersiapkan masuk dunia kerja. Selain itu juga agar mereka mampu mengukir prestasi pada berbagai kompetisi inovasi teknologi.
Kami dari program studi teknik elektro, dan alhamdulillah inilah hasil karya kita, robot pemadam api.
Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan. Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan memberikan pendidikan secara intensif kepada calon tenaga pengajar maupun pendidik sehingga setiap lulusan memiliki kecakapan sikap, pengetahuan, keterampilan umum, dan keterampilan khusus pada skala nasional maupun internasional, meneruskan reputasi UHAMKA sebagai penyedia profesi guru yang handal dan terpercaya.
Alasan saya kuliah di sini karena akreditasi A. Kelah di sana segala gitu daftar di UHAMKA.
Dalam mencetak profesi guru yang profesional, proses perkuliahan didukung oleh fasilitas dan metode perkuliahan terkini, mempersiapkan tenaga pengajar yang dapat berkontribusi langsung pada kesejahteraan masyarakat, membentuk masa depan generasi muda bangsa yang cerdas. Fakultas Agama Islam. Fakultas Agama Islam hadir membentuk tenaga pengajar pendidikan agama Islam yang juga mampu mengelola lembaga berbasis keislaman. Fakultas Psikologi mengembangkan ilmu psikologi yang terintegrasi dengan nilai Islam untuk menghadirkan lulusan yang unggul di berbagai profesi ilmu psikologi. Fakultas Ilmu-Ilmu Kesehatan menghasilkan tenaga kesehatan yang unggul melalui pengembangan ilmu-ilmu kesehatan untuk meningkatkan kesejahteraan serta kesehatan masyarakat. Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik dengan program studi utama ilmu komunikasi membentuk lulusan yang unggul di berbagai bidang ilmu komunikasi dengan dukungan pengajar profesional serta fasilitas perkuliahan yang dibuat sama dengan dunia kerja nyata. Sehingga setiap lulusan dapat kompetitif memasuki dunia kerja sekaligus mempunyai jiwa entrepreneurship dalam upaya untuk meningkatkan kesejahteraan masyarakat.
Saya mengambil jurusan ini karena fasilitas di FISIP UHAMKA sangatlah menunjang kebutuhan mahasiswa. Masuk UHAMKA, kalian nggak akan nyesal.
Sekolah Pascasarjana UHAMKA. Sekolah Pascasarjana UHAMKA menjawab tantangan para mahasiswa dan pekerja yang ingin mengejar jenjang pendidikan yang lebih tinggi, juga untuk meningkatkan profesi dan kompetensi bekerja.
Saya memilih UHAMKA karena untuk menunjang pendidikan dan karir saya ke depan, dan karena terakreditasi A sehingga membuat saya yakin untuk memilih kampus ini.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pusat Neuroscience UHAMKA adalah lembaga yang mengkhususkan diri untuk mengkaji bagaimana ilmu tentang otak dan perilaku manusia diaplikasikan di berbagai bidang, seperti leadership, marketing, edukasi, dan sebagainya. Pusat Neuroscience UHAMKA adalah satu dari sangat sedikit lembaga yang mengkaji bidang itu di Indonesia. Jika ada di antara rekan-rekan semuanya yang ingin mendalami tentang otak manusia, silakan bergabung ke UHAMKA.
UHAMKA, universitas yang membentuk generasi muda yang unggul dalam kecerdasan intelektual dan spiritual, menyongsong persaingan global terhadap tenaga profesional di era industri 4.0. UHAMKA lebih utama.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan Universitas Muhammadiyah Profesor Dr. Hamka memiliki visi untuk menjadi fakultas keguruan dan ilmu pendidikan yang terbaik di tingkat nasional pada tahun 2030, yang menghasilkan sarjana pendidikan yang unggul dalam kecerdasan spiritual, intelektual, emosional, dan sosial. Untuk mewujudkan visi semacam itu, FKIP UHAMKA bersama-sama dengan sivitas akademikanya menjalankan catur dharma perguruan tinggi dengan penuh komitmen dan keteguhan hati. Antara lain, melaksanakan pendidikan dan pengajaran, melakukan riset dan pengabdian kepada masyarakat, serta mengembangkan dan menjalankan nilai-nilai al-Islam kemuhammadiyahan.
Fakultas Keguruan Ilmu Pendidikan atau FKIP memiliki program studi unggulan, yakni Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris. Dengan sarana laboratorium bahasa yang canggih, modern, dan terintegrasi, mendukung mahasiswa lebih mudah menerima pelajaran secara detail dan komprehensif. Dengan staf pengajar yang profesional dan berpengalaman, membuat kegiatan belajar mengajar menjadi lebih mudah, menyenangkan, dan meningkatkan kualitas hasil akhir lulusan prodi pendidikan bahasa Inggris. Pendidikan Bahasa Indonesia. Begitu pula program studi pendidikan bahasa Indonesia yang telah banyak melahirkan lulusan yang kapasitas dan kapabilitasnya diakui sebagai tenaga pengajar yang profesional di banyak instansi pendidikan. Ada pula yang menjadi penulis, copywriter, wartawan, pengelola perpustakaan, dan karir lain terkait bahasa Indonesia. Pendidikan Bahasa Jepang. Studi pendidikan bahasa Jepang UHAMKA banyak melakukan kegiatan yang rutin melibatkan para mahasiswa, dilaksanakan secara rutin dan selalu mendapat sambutan dan apresiasi yang positif dari mahasiswa dan calon mahasiswa berbagai sekolah menengah atas. Misalnya kegiatan Haruka Matsuri yang sudah 15 tahun lebih diselenggarakan dan disambut meriah. Pendidikan Matematika. Format pengajaran di program studi pendidikan matematika dibuat menarik, atraktif, kreatif, dan membangkitkan semangat belajar matematika dengan cara yang menyenangkan bagi calon guru dan siswa saat terjun menjadi pengajar. Lulusan prodi matematika dapat terjun sebagai konsultan pendidikan, pengelola kursus, instruktur workshop, memproduksi alat peraga, penulis buku ajar. Pendidikan Biologi. Program studi pendidikan biologi dilengkapi dengan sarana laboratorium biologi yang lengkap, dengan perangkat canggih, dosen yang berpengalaman dan profesional, serta sumber literatur yang komplit dan memadai. Menghasilkan lulusan bukan hanya mampu menjadi pengajar yang handal serta menguasai teori dan praktek, juga dapat berkarir sebagai pengelola laboratorium biologi, instruktur workshop, peneliti, dan penulis buku ajar. Begitu pula dengan program studi pendidikan fisika yang banyak diminati oleh siswa pemerhati teknologi. Di UHAMKA, semua sarana dan prasarana peralatan belajar mengajar mengacu pada kebutuhan peningkatan pengetahuan fisika yang selalu update sesuai perkembangan teknologi dan zaman. Pendidikan ekonomi. Lulusan program studi pendidikan ekonomi tidak hanya berkarir sebagai pengajar, tetapi juga dapat mengembangkan jiwa kewirausahaan, menjadi wira swasta sukses, atau menjadi staf profesional bank. Semua elemen pendukung mewujudkan cita-cita tersebut. Disediakan FKIP UHAMKA baik dari segi fasilitas struktur dan infrastruktur, praktek laboratorium ekonomi, studi kasus mutakhir, hingga menghadirkan praktisi ekonomi profesional untuk memberikan kurikulum terbaik bagi seluruh mahasiswa. Pendidikan sejarah. Materi sejarah berbasis teknologi informasi hasil karya dosen dan mahasiswa pendidikan sejarah sudah dapat diperoleh melalui aplikasi online yang dapat diunduh dengan mudah. Digitalisasi informasi dapat secara luas diserap tanpa mengenal jarak, ruang, dan waktu. Penerapan revolusi industri 4.0 secara inheren dan komprehensif makin lengkap, membekali mahasiswa yang nantinya akan menjadi pengajar, pengamat sosial, peneliti, wartawan, pemandu wisata, bimbingan belajar, dan sebagainya dengan lebih fokus dan profesional. Pendidikan geografi. Bentang geografis wilayah yang luas menuntut lebih banyak ahli geografi yang mampu menjelaskan informasi kekayaan alam dan pengelolaannya kepada masyarakat luas. Karir sebagai guru geografi, guru teknologi informasi, surveyor pemetaan, surveyor sumber daya alam, dan sebagainya merupakan pilihan dari program studi pendidikan geografi yang signifikansinya sangat dibutuhkan. Pendidikan guru sekolah dasar atau PGSD.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Vika Irmada dari Trenggalek. Saya kuliah di UHAMKA mengambil jurusan PGSD karena di sini akreditasinya A.
Prodi Pendidikan Guru Sekolah Dasar di FKIP UHAMKA menitik beratkan pada mutu dan kebutuhan utama calon pengajar PGSD yang berkualitas, dengan kapabilitas yang mengutamakan profesionalitas. Menjadi pengajar sekolah dasar dan pengelola pendidikan dasar adalah sebagian dari pilihan jurusan prodi ini yang telah tersebar luas di banyak sekolah dasar di wilayah Indonesia. Bimbingan konseling. Bimbingan konseling amat dibutuhkan setiap saat di tengah beragamnya persoalan tiap individu, agar kegiatan belajar mengajar menjadi lebih lancar dan kondusif. Menjadi konselor adalah pilihan karir yang tepat, baik di playgroup hingga perguruan tinggi, atau konselor di lembaga pemerintahan maupun swasta. Bergabunglah bersama Prodi Bimbingan Konseling FKIP UHAMKA. Jadilah bagian sivitas akademika dengan membangun kesehatan jiwa tiap individu agar teraih kesuksesan yang membahagiakan lahir batin. Pendidikan Guru PAUD, pendidikan anak usia dini. Prodi Pendidikan Guru PAUD merupakan rahim dari cikal bakal lahirnya generasi penerus bangsa yang handal, bermartabat, berkualitas, dan pemelihara bibit unggul pembangunan bangsa. Prodi ini tidak hanya membentuk tenaga pengajar yang profesional di TK atau playgroup, Taman Pendidikan Anak atau TPA, dan di Lembaga Pendidikan Anak Usia Dini atau PAUD semata, tetapi juga membentuk pribadi yang matang dalam membina generasi terbaik sejak usia dini.
Mari bergabunglah bersama FKIP UHAMKA dalam rangka mewujudkan cita-cita pendidikan nasional kita demi kemajuan masyarakat, bangsa, dan negara yang lebih baik di masa depan.